This basically was a TED presentation that I did back last year, I think. Last year, back. It was yeah, over 12 months ago. Anyways, I also did this as like a discussion at Barcamp Manchester. That was very interesting. The audience, yeah, we had a good discussion. But today, I think we can only really do it TED style. I guess we can only really do it with me talking. But hopefully, you'll all learn something from this. Hopefully, it's a bit different to all the other presentations you've been through. So, I think about AI in the general media, because whenever you watch a film, let's say Terminator, The Matrix, those kind of films, it's always a doomsday. It's always the robots and AI taking over. And we can struggle in these things. So this was the reason why I wanted to do a presentation. It was to kind of balance it out, to make sure that people understood, but like, that isn't necessarily how it's going to play out. Because you get a lot of the media, they kind of fear mongering with the scare stories, and the whole way it's done. I mean, understandably, they're doing the jobs. If you were someone who's especially an older person, and you news and all these stories about what's going to happen, it's very worrying, very worrying. And all of this is based around the singularity. So singularity is when artificial intelligence exceeds human intelligence. Now, as you can see on the slide there, it says 2023, which is very, very early by most people's estimations. In fact, a lot of people don't think it will ever happen. So you kind of look at this and you see, that the singularity is something that's a few years away. People are worried about kind of technology paging off, but I think even the what's in these matters, that the singularity won't occur until 2040 to 2050. And this is interesting because in America, this is probably now with COVID, it's pretty obvious which jobs are essential and which could be replaced. You see that obviously the nurse at the bottom, the least likely to be worried about losing the job, was at the top, fast food worker. I mean, that's sort of seen the places have closed down, haven't they? Because those kind of things, it's not essential, and it's not the most job. In the UK, 60% of people thought that tech would take the job in the next 10 years. And I'm saying this is I'm concerned about, because if people are worrying about this, then it's like a needless worry. There's other things to worry about. In America, it's even worse, because in America, there's 70% of their people, I guess, have culture over there, different way of doing things. So yeah, they're obviously a lot more worried about this, and self cars, those kind of things. In general, I guess any country in the world, it's probably the same, isn't it? That people are going to be scared about things taking their jobs. And with the headlines like these, that a robot taking 800 million jobs, or that Boston Dynamics robot dog, obviously the media glimpses, it shows like the best of what can happen with technology. This isn't the real case when you actually work with it day in, day out. As this presentation proves, I've done countless presentations to have someone else apply to me. And even the Guardian, so the respectable kind of, as I would say, even they've been kind of getting in on the act and thinking AI is going to outsmart humanity. And at the same time as well, there's a lot of misinformation out there, because this story from, I think it was last year, when Russia pretended to have suit dancing on stage, pretend it was a robot. These kind of things, it's so weird what you can see now, and understanding harder and harder to work out what's real and what's fantasy. And technology, I think this kind of just sums it up really for me. It's like if it's given a task to do a simple task, fantastic, it can do that task. But like I said, the moment you allow it to roam around a building, especially one with a swimming pool, yeah, you end up in a lot of trouble. And no human's going to just look at water. Water, I will walk into this, and water, I will fall into this. Any human would have more sense than to allow that to happen. Because I think that's the thing with a lot of machines. It's just like letting a child wander out of the door on a big road. You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't just allow them kind of out there because they just cry. They just cry. And it's painting the picture. It's not all doom and gloom. These jobs are there for a reason. So these robots are there for a reason, to improve standards, to help people, to save lives, and give us freedom to do what we need to do. So obviously this year the protests have been different to what they could have been. I think it could have been starting to protest about the likes of Uber and Deliveroo, taking people's jobs, and obviously down the line, once these Tesla cars that drive themselves appear, we're going to start to see a lot more people protest about that kind of thing as well. So I want to kind of explain why we need AI, and this is kind of topical because I thought I was doing the start of the week when I was putting the presentation together. I thought, right, how am I going to kind of phrase this, make it relevant? And then yesterday, because the population survey popped up in the news, so hopefully you've seen it. If not, I will explain it. So here's a graph showing a population decline in Japan. And another one showing population decline in Germany. And another one in the Russian Federation. All these countries are slightly different. I've tried to different places, but Elon Musk says that population collapse is the second biggest danger to civilization after AI. I'm trying to pitch this as AI is not going to kill us all. So this is my big thing, population collapse. That is why we need to embrace AI and utilize its full advantages. Because this was just from yesterday, saying what's going to happen if we get to this point where people who are all tired, if they outnumber people who are in work, then we're going to struggle. We're going to, really, really think how do we handle it? I think people talk about migration, but eventually we'll reach the point where no one else will be able to migrate because we don't have enough people. I mean, they were saying it's probably not too bad for the UK. We'll probably maintain our population, but other countries like Portugal are going to have half the number of people. And I kind of picture about how things used to be like before automation. So if you go back to 1870 and you look at the agriculture in the UK, you'll see there was 1 million labourers working on the fields in 1870. And when you look down to the bottom now, you see there's in 2011 there's hardly any. It was like less than 50,000 workers there. So you ask the question, well, what happened to all them workers? And we'll answer that in a minute. But when you think time period, you think, well, from 1871 to 2011, massive population increase, and also our resources required, though the food required, is increased as well. So it's staggering just to look at the numbers and think, wow, look what we've done in that time period. And then moving on to the washers and launderers, we see the same scenario as that in 1871 there was almost 200,000, and nowadays there's not that many. Yet again, we would say that the cleanliness of ourselves has been maintained, even bettered, and as well as a population growth. So understandably, I think a few people might have thought, well, accountants would be one of the areas where would happen, because all these new companies end up needing an accountant. But unexpectedly, maybe, people might not have assumed bar staff, because all the free time accumulated from not having to work on the fields or cleaning things, with all the gadgets you've got. So this has led to a lot of free time, which obviously increase the bar staff. And at the same time, hairdressers have also increased, because I guess if you go into the bar, then you might go first, before you go out. So it's interesting that it's these kind of different professions that might not have been assumed have seen increase in jobs. The people who were cleaning and farming have probably gone to these kind of scenarios, gone to these jobs where they work in a bar or hairdressers. And there's been a shift as well between how the professions were arranged. So we have, previously it was 1.1% doing the care professions, that comes to 12%. That's probably going to end up even more. Whereas it was roughly 24% down to 8% now of muscle workers. So you expect to see the robots and machines taking the straight and allowing them the freedom to do other things, less physically demanding things. Because if you're a dentist, for example, it's brilliant, like that job, totally safe. And I completely agree, because I can't imagine myself going to a robot dentist. And it's interesting, there's a projected growth of 18% in the next few years for dentists. Because it's such a niche area. I'll explain why. Because the future of work is going to be very, very interesting when we kind of head forward. There's going to be shifts and changes. But it's all based on Maslow's hierarchy. What I'm kind of going to pitch in here. I think one of the first at the start mentioned this upside down Maslow's hierarchy. What's his way? And I think with the whole COVID thing as well, I think a lot of people have probably come to understand this a lot better. And I think this is the thing. I think most humans understand the need for a purpose and the need to do something. And I think the idea that retiring isn't necessarily a good idea. If you're just doing the same thing day in, day out, and you can't go out anywhere, then it does get a bit tedious and repetitive. But at the same time, I think with the machines, what you've got to realise is they're not super talented. They're good at one thing usually. For example, with this image here, it's the machine force. It's a road sign. Now, for me, my human brain, I've been through however many experiences and realised that, and I could probably do that as a 3 or 4-year-old. Yet the machines are programmed to do that specifically. So, if, for example, I'll get an app that I was watching used about crisp companies, and they could show this app, a crisp packet, and it would know which was very salty, which was cheese, onion, salt and vinegar, easily. But the moment you point it at a human, it thought the human was 90% ready salted. So, it's these kind of things. They're not actually as clever as you think they are. These systems, they're good. They're brilliant. Like some of the other talks about how they can diagnose cancer better than some of the doctors. But it's just that bit. It's one algorithm that works really well. And this is the kind of mistake. It's thinking like all these systems add up into making a great system, and it's usually not the case. Usually there's something, one bit really well. These are humans to put together, make it happen. For the humans to have the ingenuity and the creativity. And it's interesting because Gartner said, or McKinsey said, only 5% of jobs at the moment are candidates for full automation. Because again, we realise in the COVID crisis, there's plenty of jobs that we just are not at the moment able to automate. It's like I said, it would have been great if we could have a package deliveries and some of the driving done by machines, but we're not at that point yet, which says it's frustrating, I guess, isn't it? What we've seen over the last decade or two, with the rise of these technology companies. because the key to this is how we kind of automate things. So if it's predictable for work, then yes, brilliant. That's what a machine can do. But if it's more along the lines of applied expertise or unpredictable work, then it's very hard for machines to do those jobs. Those are jobs better done by humans. So for example, social workers, really, like wandering around and meeting people, different scenarios. Again, police officers, fire officers, those kind of things, and to roam around, do that. And what tends to happen anyways is that whenever we see a new shift in, either gives us new industries or higher productivity, and either way, however we look at it, we tend to get new jobs out of all these scenarios. It's been going on for quite a long time. I think I can definitely see it from when the web appeared. There's definitely an obvious shift because I was going off from fixing computers, which I thought was as exciting as it would get, to the web and to apps, and obviously other people who do social media. So it's been interesting to say those last 15, 20 years how those shifts have progressed. Because I like this quite a lot. If you follow the fundamentals of energy, jobs are the same. They're not created or destroyed, but from one dimension to another. I think that it might not play out in every place, but across the whole ecosystem, I think that's what you tend to find, that people. I guess these days we're in a better position, because of COVID, because it's easier now to say we can work remotely in a lot of the jobs now. But I think before, when, for example, the miners' strike, it was very difficult to get those people back into jobs. Now we've got a fantastic, worldwide connected audience, so it means that's a lot easier now. And if you think back to 1985, Future 2, and how they predicted 2015, and these were the brightest brains in Hollywood, yet none of them predicted the rise of the smartphone. They thought we were still machines. This is the thing, is it? Like, whatever's kind of put out there, we don't know. It's up to kind of believe and make it happen, because things in there like the video calling. Well, that was already done 20 years ago, Star Trek. So there's all these different paths out there for us to get excited about, I think. Because I think if you go back to 85, I'd be, but my bigger sister would have been 7, and she would have said, like app developer, so she wouldn't believe those jobs were possible. Like the devices we use and how everyone's connected together. It's just unreal, isn't it? What's happened? And I think that's it. Was always pushing forward, and that's why we've kind of got to push for this AI, utilize its full capabilities. Understandably, COVID gives us a good reason to push for anyways. Now it gives us a good reason to make our machines smarter and more intelligent. So that's my presentation. Sorry, it's a bit stop and start with how we've done it, but yeah, if you like that and you want to kind of watch it again, but with a bit quicker, a bit slicker, then it's on YouTube. You just search for Steve Hilton TEDx, and you'll find me up there. So yeah, thanks for everyone. Hopefully you've had a good time.